Welcome to New York. In case you missed it, we're in New York City. We arrived by bus from Massachusetts with the goal of exploring all the top attractions this city has to offer, as well as the best Christmas sights during the festive season.
In our first video, we took you through all the best Christmas spots to show you what it's really like to spend the festive season here in New York City, including Christmas Day. In today's video, which is part 2, we're going to take you to all the main attractions in the city, and make sure you stay tuned for part 3, where we take you to one of the coolest museums here in New York City.
But for now, I think we should get going and see what this massive city has to offer.
Now you might be expecting us to start off this video at one of the main tourist attractions, you know, at Times Square, Rockefeller, Central Park, but in fact we're going to start this video off at one of New York City's more unique attractions. We're here in Soho at somewhere that only a few weeks ago we had not even heard of, but upon recommendation from my mum, we have come here to the Colour Factory, which is a really interactive museum here in Soho, and like I said, we hadn't heard of it, but we're super excited to take you through with us. Free jelly beans, let's go!
There are colour-coordinated macarons. I always knew she'd end up in jail.
And we're going to cut off our time at the Colour Factory there, but stay tuned for our part 3 of our New York series, and that video will be our full experience at the Colour Factory. But for now, let's go to our next stop in New York City. Okay, so that museum was pretty cool, but now it's an early morning here. We're enjoying our coffee in a quiet Times Square.
New York, New York! Today is the 24th of December, so tomorrow is Christmas, which makes New Year's a little over a week away. But already here in Times Square, if you look behind me, you can see the ball that drops at New Year's. Now it says 202, so it doesn't say 2023 or 2024 yet. I suppose they're going to put the 4 on the end soon. I don't know, never seen it before, but thought it was interesting.
We're about to embark on a giant walking tour, self-guided, through New York City. We're pretty excited. Now before we kick off our walking tour, we've come a little further south of Manhattan, the very southern tip of Manhattan Borough, to come see a pretty special monument here in New York City. Now we're going to go to one spot, which is here in Battery Park, or the Battery as people call it, to get a view, but there's also another way you can get a view. We may show you in a little bit. It's a pretty good tip.
Guys, it's Roche Stace and the Statue of Liberty. I'm not sure how well you can see it. It's quite cloudy today, so difficult to see, but there she is. Okay, so that was the view from Battery Park, but you can also apparently get a really good view from the Staten Island Ferry, and the best part is, it's free. So that is where we're going now. We're gonna hop on the Staten Island Ferry and hopefully get an even better view of Her Lady.
A quick round trip to Staten Island just to see the Statue of Liberty, why not?
This ferry ride was 100% worth coming to the tip of Manhattan. The views of the Statue of Liberty, you could go to that island and still not get as good views as what we just got. The distance that we were from the statue allowed some pretty cool pictures, and it's something I would definitely recommend doing if you are coming to New York.
And if you're wondering, the ferry takes about 20-25 minutes to get across one way, and they run generally on the half hour unless it's like a special holiday or something. So by the time you get here, you quickly make your way through the terminal and you can hop on one back the other direction. And generally they're pretty frequent. I think they run all day, every day, but the frequency of them may change depending on weekday, weekend, holiday, and things like that. We've now caught the subway back to the East Village, which is where we'll start our walking tour, but first we need to get some lunch. So we've come to Tompkins Square Bagels. Very popular in here, it's super busy, and got ourselves some lunch. We've also been a bit cheeky and we picked up a s'mores, like a Rice Krispie treat. This thing it's a brick, it's huge. I'm so excited to eat it. This place is super cool. They had so many different flavour bagels, so many different flavoured cream cheeses, like birthday cake cream cheese, cookie dough, peanut butter Nutella, and then savoury ones as well. They're different tofu ones. I think Roche got a jalapeno cream cheese, so it's a really cool place and definitely very popular.
Yeah, that jalapeno cream cheese on my bagel was like the best. It made the bagel the best bagel I've ever had in my life. And it was in New York, so I'm pretty happy about that. New York's known for its bagels, I think, right? I think New York is known for, you know, some pretty good bagels. It didn't break the bank either. The marshmallow thing did. The bagel didn't. Ow. I'm gonna hurt my jaw. It's a good marshmallow.
Okay, we are starting our little self-guided walking tour of New York in the East Village, and we are in Tompkins Square Park, which is just a big park here in the East Village, nothing too special. The East Village was built when New York expanded in the early 1800s. It was considered quite an upper-class place to live. It then flooded with immigrants in the early 1900s, and at one point was even known as Little Germany. But now it's a bit of a desired place to live. I think it's quite expensive to live here, but it's a pretty cool kind of hip neighbourhood here in New York. So we're going to wander around East Village for a bit and make our way to our next stop, which is Greenwich Village. And if you're looking for Tompkins Square Bagels, where we just ate, it is literally just across the road, just a bit further up from the park, like literally a 2-minute walk.
Okay, so we've had a nice stroll through Greenwich Village, which I believe was the bohemian capital of New York City in the 1950s, 60s. These days, it's just like a really expensive place to live, and it's home to one of the most well-known parks here in New York City, Washington Square Park. Now, Washington Square Park has two main features. This big Washington Square arch behind me there, as well as a big fountain. Now, I don't think the fountain is functioning right now, I guess because it's so cold. But it is a nice open space surrounded by some pretty beautiful New York architecture. Now, it was pretty easy to get here from Tompkins Square. It was about a kilometre walk, so not too far, but if you would prefer to hop on the subway, very easy to do that as well. Now, New York City is a very special place. You know, there's never a dull moment in New York City for many different reasons, good, bad. You know, you can get weird encounters on the subway, crazy nightlife stories, you know, the list goes on. And for that reason, it's no surprise that so many different movies and TV shows are set in this amazing city, because the possibility of different stories are endless. And we're approaching somewhere right now that's pretty famous because it's featured in a very famous TV show. How you doing? Of course, this is the building featured in the hit TV show Friends, only for exterior shots, so nothing was filmed inside. It was just for the shots where it kind of set up the scenes so that we knew the scene was either in Monica's apartment or Chandler and Joey's apartment. And it is so cool to come and stand here and just imagine that the 6 friends actually hung out in this apartment. I'm a bit of a nerd.
And if you are looking for the Friends apartment building, it's on the corner of Grove Street and Bedford Street here in the West Village, I believe we're in now. So Bedford Street and Grove Street. Now, budget or no budget, we absolutely have to see a Broadway show while we're in New York. Because we're in New York, it's a must-do. So we've got tickets to see Gutenberg, starring Andrew Reynolds and Josh Gad. We're pretty excited for it. We've heard it's hilarious. So a bit of a different show to what we'd normally see, but we're very excited. We're going to head on in, leave you out here, well, in our backpack, but we'll check in with you afterwards.
3 hours later.
We just got out of Gutenberg and that was incredible. It was so funny. Josh Gad and Andrew Reynolds are just so hilarious. I feel like if it was any 2 other people, it just wouldn't work. I mean, the storyline is pretty ridiculous, but they were hilarious. So we loved it. Glad we picked that one. But now it's time to explore a bit more of New York.
Times Square. Doesn't get much more New York than that.
Speaking of Broadway, if you are wanting to try and get cheaper tickets and you're not too fussed what show you want to see, you can come here to Times Square. There is the tickets booth that sits under those famous red stairs, and every day they'll have a list of what tickets they have discounted and what the discount is, and you can line up and hope they still have the show you want to see by the time you get to the front. The other option is the Today Tix app, which I mentioned in our London vlog. If you haven't seen that, we'll link it up there. But that app is for all different places around the world, but they do have New York City, and they have various different lotteries for your shows. So you can enter the lottery, and if you win, you get cheap tickets. Now our next stop is one for all you nerds like me. Nerds Unite, we're at the Nintendo store. I need it. So obviously Rockefeller is a main tourist attraction here in New York City, and while at Christmas time the big attraction is the big Christmas tree and the ice rink down there as well, It is a tourist attraction all year round with a few different things you can do. Top of the Rock is the most famous one, which is heading to the top of the Rockefeller building with great views out of New York City. Now there are two key spots in New York City to get those good views. One is the Empire State Building, which is probably the more famous one, and then Top of the Rock. Now the benefit of Top of the Rock is that you can see the Empire State Building when you look back out. Obviously when you do the Empire State Building you can't see the Empire State Building, so that is a benefit of getting to the top of the rock. The other thing, which is a new thing here at the Rockefeller Centre, is replicating that famous photo of the workers sitting on like that beam out hanging over the top of the building, and they've now made that like a photo spot up there. I'm not sure either of us are game enough to do that, nor is it in our budget, thank God, but that is something that looks really, really cool.
Now something else that we think you absolutely have to do and somewhere you have to dine in is Ellen's Stardust Diner here in New York City, and if you saw our part 1 video you'll have seen us here on Christmas Day. So if not, go check that out because that was a really fun time.
Okay, and now we have picked up from where we left off yesterday on our walking tour of New York City. Now we just got the subway back here to Union Square Park. However, if you were following our walking tour earlier and you were at Washington Square Park or the Friends apartment, it's about a 10-minute walk from there to here. And if you come from Washington Square Park, it'll take you right through the heart of the NYU campus, which is pretty cool. So Union Square Park, again, there are many parks in New York City, but Union Square Park is particularly known for its chess scene. So you can come by, watch some people playing some chess, or give it a go yourself if you have watched the Queen's Gambit and did convert to being a chess player. But we are not chess players, so we will not be giving it a go, but it's a very cool park. They are currently packing down the Union Square Holiday Market. If you watched our first video, you would have seen that we visited the Union Square Holiday Market. So now it's a bunch of empty stalls as it is Christmas Day and they're all packing up. But it's a very beautiful park and very, very close to our next stop. Now, if you are looking to play some chess here in Union Square, I believe they charge you maybe around $3 to play them. They are known as the Chess Hustlers. They're apparently pretty good at chess, so enter at your own risk. It is only $3, so if you're looking for a bit of fun, you can do that, but they are set up there in a little corner and they're waiting to win some games of chess. But we are now leaving Union Square Park and walking just up the road to our next stop, which is Madison Square Park. We've now made it to Madison Square Park, again about a 10-minute walk from Union Square Park, so it's super easy, surrounded by lots of really kind of old style looking skyscrapers, which is really pretty. But probably the most famous or most unique structure that surrounds this park is the Flatiron Building. Now this was built in 1902 and is known for, I mean, it's pretty obvious why it's flat shape. It's very similar to the one we saw in Toronto. We'll either link that video up there or down in the description if you have missed it. But it's such a unique building structure. It's got a bit of scaffolding and a bit of work going on at the moment, but all the buildings surrounding this park are just so beautiful as we're still kind of away from the city centre.
But now it's time to head from one very unique shaped building to one very tall one. It's the Empire State Building. Now you can see the Empire State Building from a fair while away because it is a pretty tall building. In fact, when it was first built, which I think was 1931, it was the tallest building in the entire world, and it kept that record for 39 years until the Twin Towers were built. But whilst it is definitely not the tallest building in the world anymore, it is still very large, and it's not just in height. The Empire State Building is so wide that its base is an entire block in New York City.
And as I mentioned when we were at the Rockefeller Centre, you can also go to the top of the Empire State Building. I believe there are 2 different platforms on different floors, meant to be very good panoramic views of New York City, and on most people's New York bucket list, a lot of people do argue the top of the rock view is better because you get the Empire State Building in it. We've now made it nice up and close to the Empire State Building, but we're going to continue our walking tour. Now there are a few other stops before our next big stop that we're just going to kind of skip past. So there's the New York Public Library, the Rockefeller Centre, which we've already been to. Now if you continue up 5th Avenue, it'll take you past all those sites, the Pulitzer Fountain as well. But our next stop is going to be at Central Park, and now this leg of the walking tour is a bit longer. It's about 2.2 kilometres, so a bit of a bigger leg. You can always jump on the subway and get there that way, but we're going to stroll it out here on Christmas Day. And after a lovely stroll and a coffee, we have made it into Central Park. It's just absolutely beautiful.
It's huge, and so many scenes from TV shows and movies have been filmed here. so I'm really excited to be here. In fact, Central Park is the most filmed location in the entire world. And it's no surprise, so many movies and TV shows, as I said before, are set in New York, and what better way to set the location than with like a drone shot of Central Park. It's unmistakable, very recognizable, and that is why it's the most filmed location in the whole world. Having some shoe issues because of all the walking we've been doing in NYC.
I also brought shoes that were already worn out. It's a bit of a rookie error, but I'll be switching them out soon for some sandals, so just got to get through today.
This park is so big, there's actually a street inside the park for bikes and carriages and such. Another spot in Central Park that's pretty familiar to me is Bethesda Terrace. I think I've said that right. They actually filmed a scene here in the first Avengers film. Right behind me is where the Avengers kind of gathered together and decided Loki's fate, and then Thor kind of whooshed him away. It's pretty cool to be standing here.
Well, what an amazing time here in New York City. However, this is not our last video, so make sure you stay tuned for part 3, where we take you to the Color Factory Museum, which is one of the most amazing museums here in New York City. But we had such an incredible time taking you through all the top sites in the city, so make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hope everyone had a happy holidays, and we'll see you in part 3. Bye.